up, beautiful people? It is Mike James, founder and owner of P&Z Life Coaching, and I'm bringing you another episode of Black Business Booming. Again, created this to give a space and a place and just a platform for Black businesses all across the diaspora to just express about their business and tell us a little bit more info. Again, you see businesses, but a lot of times you don't connect that face and that driving force behind the business. So I'm so excited today about my interview because this is my first international interview with someone who I respect, and we'll probably get into how we met, but I want my awesome guest to introduce himself and tell everybody a little bit about who he is and his businesses.
Awesome. Well, appreciate that, Mike. My name is Limahl Mills. I'm the founder of the Mills Institute of Education and Economics and Fortrese, a startup fintech company that just about to launch, actually. So I'm an entrepreneur from the UK, and I don't sound like it. That's because of my transatlantic chapter
Right.
in the US. So I had the opportunity to work and live out in the US for a few years when I was a teenager, actually, when I first moved. And I was working in the entertainment business. Since then, I've moved and worked in 2 continents, including the Middle East and North America, 3 continents, and Europe, of course, in major cities such as London, Los Angeles, Geneva, and Dubai, and in the areas of real estate, commodities, finance, and the investment banking world. So I've more landed now into the region of finance specifically and technology combined. So these are the areas that I focus on, and also precious stones as well as commodities. So yeah, that's a little bit about
Awesome.
me.
Awesome. So, and again, you talked about the financial area and technology. So that's what you mean when you say fintech?
Exactly, yes,
Okay.
financial technology.
Because I know a lot of people hear words and they say, wait, what? And they don't ask questions. They just let it slip by.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So
Cool.
tell us a little bit about your education background, and you talked about the different places you've been. What's your education background?
Sure. So I grew up in a city called Leeds, which is the north of the UK. And this is essentially the financial capital of the north of the country. So the biggest financial market outside of London, which most people outside of the country just know London, but there is some other big cities too. And I grew up in a more public school system. Never went to private school or anything like that. Was always told off for talking. Hence probably the reason why I got into entertainment, songwriting, and more recently literature. But I then went to after primary school or elementary, went to college where I studied media production and audio and English as well. After a few years doing that, then I went to university to take the education to the next level, and was studying music technology and innovation. And that's where I actually got my recording contract offer in my second year, hence why I moved to the United States. Since then, more my self-education journey. I'm a alumni of the Gemological Institute of America. So after working in London, I'm fast forwarding slightly, but just on the educational standpoint, I became qualified as a accredited jewelry professional. So I studied with the GIA, and more recently, I have been working in being a member of the Chartered Institute for Securities and Investment because of the work that I do in finance. I have to be a member of them, and I also have to be qualified on certain regulatory standpoint. So that's the most recent educational route that I took.
Nice. So, I hope people are even early on in this interview picking up on the levels of Limahl Mills. Done so
Cool.
much, man, and it's awesome. Even just how we met, just chance meeting
Mm,
on an app, just social media app. So I think that's
yeah.
awesome, man, to just continually see all these layers of someone. So you have your background in entertainment and your travel and everything. When did you decide to start the business that you're currently doing with the Mills Institute in Fortrese. When did that start, and how did that come about, and what inspired you to do so?
Yeah, so I think I probably could rewind back to 2017. That was the last year I would say active in the entertainment business, and kind of where I came to a revelation because even the institute, the CISI, which I'm a member of, this was something I wanted to do when I lived and worked in London in 2013. But because of the work I was doing, I was, being a musician, doing some acting work, and then day job was working as a broker, and in central London. And I wanted to, because I was like intertwined into the financial markets. At the time, I really wanted to study, but I just didn't have the time. So fast forward to 2017, when I was finished my last, professional project. I had always had a thought that I would do other things, post music. That was never like the full long-term plan because I knew progression wise I would grow and want to do other things. And then after I put that album out, it was crazy because I was going through a time where I was speaking to a variety of other companies and investors about expanding the business with my colleague at the time. And there was a conversation that kept happening, and it just really triggered this whole change completely. Where I kept being in a room where people were saying, $2 million, not a lot of money, is it? Or $1 million, not a lot of money. And this is, bear in mind, I've been working in financial markets, so quite savvy when it comes to finance and investment. But the key thing I had to really break down is, why are they saying that's not a lot of money? So after that kind of just took me off on a different course of finding out. So I took a year out in 2018 where I just studied, just read a lot of books, studied architecture, started my journey in the regulatory market. And I was just reading so much about commercial real estate, adding to the information I had, but just going a deep dive. Then over the past couple of years, I genuinely been asked from a variety of people about, how did you get into this, Lamar? Like, I don't, like, you went here, you did this, like, there was always questions. And I figured, like, hey, maybe I should actually have some kind of system in place that can help other people, get the things that they want. And that's really what birthed the institute, which has been growing over the past couple of years in terms of the delivery model and the actual status of the company. But it really started in 2016, so 4 years ago. And then tying in with my experience and what type of fields I worked in, fintech was kind of like the natural progression, because I decided, with one of my companies, was to just go into private equity and asset management, which essentially was part of this whole quest of figuring out. But I wanted to figure out at the highest level. So I'm going in at the top, securities, just everything pertaining to the financial markets. But because of my creative background, fintech just kind of just was showed to me, because it allows me to use my creative mind with technology and things like that, but incorporate into the financial structures, which for me is like a perfect fit. So I decided, investment wise, I would focus on education technology, which is my institute, and financial technology, which is fintech, so solving problems through financial technology means. And that's really where I'm at now.
So that's awesome. So I guess it's almost like really paying attention to those strong suits, those strengths that you have, and just letting it guide what you do,
Yeah.
because in that, what inspired you was everything you were learning and the
Yeah,
things
pretty
that
much.
peaked. It, even when you started, just as stood out to me and very interesting that those statements of $1 million, $2 million, not a lot of money, that
Yeah.
sent you on this path, to discover and learn so much. I think that's amazing.
Mm.
To the point where you birthed not one but two businesses out of that, and just that growth in your understanding and your knowledge. That's amazing to me.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I mean, again, it was really a matter of just pushing the boundaries, because I'm someone that, generally is competitive. I played sports and things like that growing up. So I always wanted to just win in general. And if I'm competing, then I want to compete at the highest level always. And again, it was just one of those moments where something just clicked inside, where I was like, okay, I've done music to a certain level, which I had, success with also independently. But I realized there was more, and there was more that I could do with the skills that I have. And hence why I just, was like, okay, cool, we've done that now. Now it's time to build in some other arenas. So yeah, that was just, it just kind of forced me to do it, really.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm.
So with your businesses, what was I guess, one of the biggest challenges that you face in the formation of your business? Or what was one of those things that was, just a little, I guess, cloudy getting started? What was one of the biggest hurdles just in the formation of your businesses?
Well, working, I guess, starting out, private equity and asset management, where I grew up, these are not things that just come out. I'd go to like, associates like gatherings and things like that. And people ask, what is it that you do? And I'm like, oh, private equity, asset management. They're like, whoa, 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 whoa. You've gone over my head here. Do you know what I mean? Where it's not like a topic that's spoken about. So I think the hardest thing really was, trying to figure out like my position in that field and what area of finance that I would focus on. Because it's like, you go to college and it's like, what am I going to major in? So in my career, I guess I had gone into a different field, starting again with entertainment, then commodities and real estate and finance. But I was like, well, equity and asset management, I can kind of do all of those things, minus obviously entertainment. That's not exactly, tying into that model, but technically, yeah, I could maybe invest in that. But those main areas, those are the things that I wanted to just keep under the umbrella. But with the, getting down to specifics, the hardest thing is just finding out which area you want to focus on. But once a couple years, you build in your business and you start to see how things are unfolding, you're like, okay, this seems like the direction I should go in, which is more on the fintech side specifically.
Yeah. So you followed that spark of interest, that inspiration. You went through those initial hurdles and the challenges of starting.
Mm.
Now you have these businesses going, right? And it's that continuous process every day as an entrepreneur or business owner to grow, to better what
Yeah.
you're doing, to get to that place where you feel like it's a well ran and oiled machine. So
Mm.
what is
Yeah.
one of the what are some of your daily challenges in terms of running your businesses? What are some of the challenges you face just from day to day being a business owner?
I guess really like, getting that digital market share, because the way how, the world is now, everything, as well know, is all online.
Yeah.
So figuring out that whole model of how you can do your business, but carve out a section of that for yourself,
Mm.
I guess is the toughest thing, because it's kind of like the social media realm. I guess it's kind of like the stock market, where it's fluctuating every day, right? There's always different information popping up and different people popping up. So you're constantly trying to like keep the attention of the audience that you are growing, right? So with the businesses that I have, some of the back end stuff is sometimes quite technical. So juggling the technical side and then again say the creative side, which is the marketing, which I also love, by the way. I guess that is the hard bit, because I have to do like a lot of reading, like even just always at hand. I've got cue cards, so this is just
Right.
things that I'm just constantly just keeping at the top of my brain. So just the balance between the technical side and that digital market share and what that entails, I guess that's the most challenging for sure.
Yeah. And, just to add on to everything you're saying, I think for everybody watching, that's the importance of entrepreneurs such as yourself, that is giving, that will give people the tools that they're not privy to generally.
Mm.
So with your institute and everything you're doing, me keeping up with your social media, and, I just encourage people to get in touch with you and to see what you have going on, because you put out a lot of things that will help people, not only in business but just in their personal life.
Mm.
From everything of using your phones more efficiently and different things like that. I think that's amazing. So that's part of that. You're solving a problem that's out there in the market, right? With what you do, because that's one of the
Yeah.
things with those everyday challenges for people. So I just encourage people to make sure that you check this man out because he's doing some awesome things. So let's
Appreciate
flip
that.
that, right? We got your
Cool.
challenges, those daily kind of challenges that, oh man, some days. Let's flip it on its head, and what is the most satisfying part of your business and what you do being a business owner, entrepreneur on a daily basis?
Well, I definitely say seeing people get what they want, whether it's clients, customers, right? And solving problems. So the first thing, when I like more so, I guess with the institute at the moment, to seeing like students that are graduating from some of the diplomas that we created, it's it's satisfying to see them just achieve the goals and the things that they worked hard for and put in a lot of time, effort, energy, and resources. Because as I was getting those questions over the years, I didn't realize where the business I was in, which was entertainment, is more like self and ego driven, right? So it's all about me kind of thing. And you can get caught up into that. And I'll be honest, there was times where, my thinking was, challenged, where you kind of go down different routes and, it happens. But I think it's when you snap out of that and you actually realize like, yeah, remember who you are kind of thing. And you come out of that. So seeing people get what they want and just helping them, just see things in a different way. And I feel like I just always try and use my experience and creativity um, to help people figure their situation out. Because I know if I help other people with the vehicles that I have, they'll be appreciative of that if it's help them drive the distance that they need to go. So that's one thing that I really do like, and seeing it come to fruition is even better because you're a part of that journey, and then you kind of intertwine with that people, or that person, or that group of people. But I guess the second thing that's satisfying is solving the problems. For example, even I would say maybe 2 years ago, right? So I set myself a challenge. Sorry, a year and a half ago, I set myself a challenge, and it was called the 12 challenge. And I used this challenge that I created to help me figure out which industries I wanted to have my company invest in, or start startups within that company. And the challenge really was, I have to have certain parameters, so like £1,000 or $1,000 minimum or maximum investment. It has to be something I can get going in like 30 days, and it has to be something that can be profitable as soon as it starts, right? Meaning I could sell a product and see a profit straight away, not wait, a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
And that challenge just allowed me to figure out, which sections or sectors I wanted to invest in, which was education, technology, and fintech. But before that, I went through a variety of like marketing study, and I went through just a massive array of study to see which areas made the most sense. So solving the problems, like I said, through education and financial technology, now for me are like the primary ones. So when I'm keep solving things in these areas, it's just very rewarding because it makes the work worthwhile. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Mm.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's almost that same thing, with the first part of that problem solving or giving yourself a task, a chore, and when you do it, it's like yes, it almost gives
Yeah,
you that energy to do more. That's I mean that's really amazing to me. That the more I do these interviews, I'm starting to realize, and even thinking of just myself, like, okay, Mike, if
mm,
you were interviewing yourself, when I get to that most satisfying part, it's usually all the selfless parts of it, solving problems for people, and
mm,
just that the ability to inspire change or to
yeah,
bring positive change to people. So I love that because it not only lets me know that I'm interviewing and connecting with the right people, that it's giving selfless service, but it's that encouraging factor of seeing how you can always be a problem solver.
for
So
sure.
one thing we didn't talk about, and I said this word chore, and it just made me think, one thing we haven't talked about, that you're an author as well.
That's
So,
right. Yeah.
so talk a little bit about that, man, because I just want y'all to look over Limahl's head, man, and look at that beautiful plaque, and just talk about that, man. What was the journey like for being an author? And I want you to tell some people about the book, man.
Yeah, for sure. So I originally got the first idea to write a book in 2010. And this was literally 10 years ago when I moved back from the States. So I was living in Tucson, Arizona first, and then moved to Hollywood, Los Angeles. So had a cool time, challenging time, but cool time overall. And when I came back, I was like, I don't know where the idea came from, but I just had an idea for a book. So fast forward, let's say 8 years later, 2018, after moving back from the Middle East, I was like, okay, um, I need to write this book now. But it wasn't the idea I originally had. And I guess I wanted to kind of lock in the experiences, the memories, all of the trials and tribulations that I'd gone through over, life, or specifically that 10-year, 15-year block. So I could like maybe help somebody else again, based on that whole mantra. And I would just remember one week, 2018, I think it was maybe like March, I had released my debut album after it was sat on my computer, and I was like, all right, just release it. Don't just sit on it for another year, 2 years. And then after, I was like, okay, let's write the book. And literally, Mike, for like a week, Monday to Friday, 9 till 2, I sat there, and by Friday, I had about 40,000 words for the book. But
Wow.
then what happened is, yeah, it was just pouring out, and it was very therapeutic for sure. But after that happened, I figured like there's something missing. Like I couldn't finish the book yet. So then I left it till 2019, lived a little bit more because I feel like I had something to just tie up the book with. And then it was towards the mid 2019. That's when I finished it. Did like the last two chapters, and then 2020. So 2 years it took to actually write, produce it, develop the whole thing, artwork, formatting, everything. Is when I released it in February this year. And again, luxurious chores. I said it in an interview, probably maybe 2011, and I said to the person, I was like, yeah, music to me is like a luxurious chore because it's great because everybody would love to do that, especially as a profession, and you get paid for it. But it becomes a chore because when you're producing beats and writing songs day in, day out, it kind of gets repetitive. But at the same time, I can't be mad at it because it's cool to just make music in the studio. Do you know what I mean? So
Right.
that was why I coined that term, luxurious chores. And the book essentially was an extension of that thought. And I titled it that because that's essentially what it was. But this one was different because it was like an album or mixtape or single. It was a book. I'd never written a book before, so it challenged me again, but challenged me in a way that I could evolve and enhance, my creativity.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah,
Definitely. And yeah, it's just, again, like I said, the layers that you have, So with your background as an artist, an author, an entrepreneur of multiple businesses, what would be some advice that you would have for someone who's either they're on the fence about starting a business, or they want to start a business but they just don't know where, or just this whole idea of being an entrepreneur or being in business, they feel stuck? What would be some advice, or any advice that you would give that person?
sure. I mean, the first thing I would say is definitely read, because one thing that I kind of put down, because I always loved reading in school. I loved reading books all the time. But then I don't know, there was a time, I guess, adolescence, late teens, where, you're out and about in the clubs and, the usual things you do when you're young. I kind of didn't really focus on reading as much. It was just more active things. And I would definitely say reading really will give you the hidden gems that you don't get taught in school, because you can learn from other people's experiences. And I wish into me a lot more when I was younger, because I know I would probably be in a different mind space at that point. Um, and when you're reading the book, and you're learning from people's failures, you can really take from that. But I always encourage people, as much as you're reading and doing the theories, like you have to be acting as well, right? You can't be scared to get everything perfect, because when you fail, you actually learn from those mistakes, and that can be more valuable than if you didn't fail or didn't know how something turned out. So I would say, try. Um, don't be scared to actually try something and it not work out. Like I've done a couple of projects in my time, where I've gone into something and not knowing enough about it, not for the lack of not trying to know, but just don't know enough about enough. And you do it and it doesn't always pan out exactly how you thought it would be. So the approach I take now is definitely more methodical. I do more research, I do more due diligence before I get into something. But at the same time, I'm not being apprehensive where I'm like too scared to try. So I'll roll things out, before it's like 100% perfect,
Yeah.
because it needs to get out quickly. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, I'll definitely say to people, just do your reading, do your due diligence, learn from other people's experiences, and collect as much data as possible. That's what I would say.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's that common thread from any entrepreneur or creative artist, anything like that, is that common thread in there is to do it.
Yeah.
Because it's always that question: Can I? Will
Yeah.
I succeed? And it's that common thread of anybody I talk to, and even thinking about myself, it's do it. And sometimes you get into it and you realize the one of the few regrets that you have is that you didn't start sooner.
Yeah, exactly.
With that journey, because it's just more growth and all that. But that's awesome. So with everything you have going on, man, as a business, as a mogul out here in these streets, what's next? What's next for Limahl Mills in terms of the Mills Institute, Fortrese, in terms of the book? What's next? What's on the upcoming radar for you?
For sure. I mean, I guess starting with the institute is really just to like grow the curriculum, because I feel really passionately and strongly about the right education. Because like I just said, reading, that's part of your education, your self-education. So it's really just to grow the institute with new curriculums added. Over time, I don't want to try and rush things just to get them out. We have the main curriculums, which is smartphone curriculum, and then your more mindset, life change type of curriculum, which are doing good so far. Smart curriculum we're building out, but looking at incorporating more technology with the institute, because that's where I see things going. With the whole education technology space, it's a huge market, but there's so many more layers to it other than just people having courses, right? Which is, I guess, the general message that's put out there. So definitely developing that more and just growing the student base, alumni. With Fortrese, fintech company, fintech startup that I have with a good friend and colleague of mine who's COO, who will be doing some talks soon, actually. But yeah, we're actually in a stage where we've narrowed down a problem that needed to be solved. And, we're using our experience combined. So group economics coming together and really trying to solve a problem in that space where, people that are, Black, kind of underrepresented in technology and also in the financial services sector. So for me, it was important that I really, segued into a space where I could actually grow and actually have a real impact, as opposed to just being another, you know, what's the term, another fly on the wall, or another,
Yeah.
cog in the chain, so to speak.
Right.
And yeah, we're about to just launch Fortrese fully and start speaking about it. Again, it's a long project. We're working in the fintech space, so a lot of regulation comes with that. Also, just developing the technology also takes time, which I've already been working on this project for, I think, over at least 14 months already. So yeah, really excited about that because I feel like it's gonna have some real impact. So I'm very excited about that. And generally, as an author, I'm already planning the second book, which is, I guess, geared more towards the main problems that we're solving. socially, economically. So planning that probably going to take a while. I don't know if I can do it this year just because of the workload, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I've already got a lot of notes, let's say that. So definitely working on the second book, and of course promoting luxurious chores. And because I feel I want people to read the book, because I'm a guy from Leeds, UK. Most of the time when people talk about the United Kingdom, you always hear London first, and that's
Mm-hmm.
even a challenge, especially as a black person, that you're not from the capital, and you're always the underdog. So I've kind of got used to that, where I just use it as my advantage, where people will speak to me and they may not know the whole backstory. And that's why now I just reference the book and say, hey, if you want to know about Lamar, go read Luxurious Chores. It kind of puts it all up to this point in there. So again, the main reason for that was to actually help people. So I feel like there's some stories in there where people can read and be like, oh wow, he actually went through that, and he went from here to here and then came back and then did this. There's a lot of like that hero story, the comeback and the come up, which most people like. So yeah, definitely want people to hear that.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Mhm.
I'm tickled because here you are on your way to writing your second book, and I'm just sitting
Mm,
on the idea of, now I have two book ideas, but it's sitting on the
mm,
idea of getting started with the first one. So that's amazing,
yeah,
man. A lot of my friends and family who are either writing a book or has already finished, I
mm,
always tilt my head to people who finish that, even if it's a book of poetry, because I don't think people realize sometimes the time and energy that goes into writing a book, and also
yeah,
just the dedication.
for real.
So of the time. So okay, now, so it's like that that complete meal, that 5 course meal. So with everything going on, tell people how they can find you, how they can keep up with what's going on with everything that you're doing. Just let people know how they can connect with you and find you.
Sure. Well, again, using the curriculums that we have at the Institute, you can find me at texlamar.com. You can reach out. There's links to my companies and the projects I'm in. Instagram, pretty heavy on the social side, mainly there, and that's the usual, feeder to the other networks. But yeah, I usually go live most days in the week, at least 6 days a week, which is tiring but necessary.
Right.
um, and yeah, texamar.com. You can hit me up on there, and Instagram, Limahl Mills.
Awesome. So this is bonus question because
Okay.
I love to dig into the minds of the messengers, right? I want you to
Hmm.
explain your shirt that you're wearing to everybody. Financial analysis.
Cool. So one of the things I picked up from working in the music business since I was 14, professionally since I'm gonna say 19. The one thing about hip hop specifically, which is why I worked in, it was culture, right? So artists always have a way of like promoting culture subliminally. So I figured a couple years back, I was like, well, I feel with this message I have, it would only be right if I use some of those same strategies and elements to showcase a different type of message. So financial analysis, which these sweatshirts are available at the Institute, it's very specific messaging from the area of finance and securities. So understanding, a potential business opportunity, the value of a business or a market, this is all part of financial analysis. You have to really dig deep to see if it's worthwhile an investment. So, I wear these from time to time now. Now I think I graduated from just suit all the time, which I disciplined myself for 2 years, didn't buy any other clothes, just suits and books. That's it. So now I'm a little bit more casual, and that's really what it's about. Instead of having, you know, messages on a shirt that don't mean anything, I wanted to have that intention where if someone sees it, they ask, oh, financial analysis, what's that? And it already sparks a conversation in the right way pertaining to, say, financial literacy. So that's the reason behind it.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. That's the thing too. It's like I think that's big now, and just our culture across the board is more so about messaging and what we
Yeah.
wear. You know, not just empty things, but you know, you actually you start looking for things of how I can get a message out. And so I love that, and I definitely wanted to give space for you to explain that, because every one that you wear it's a message that hits home, and so that's
Yeah.
awesome. Of course,
Appreciate that.
I want everybody to make sure they you know, check out Limahl, and I'm going to put some information in the description below. As always, I encourage you to like, subscribe, and share this page, and just keep coming back. It's going to be more Black Business Booming segments. Again, I want to thank Limahl for his time and just for sharing all that information about everything that he has going on, man. Anything else you want to leave the people with, bro?
Um, I think that's good. Like I said, I appreciate you, reaching out. And again, for the audience, Mike and I been chatting for a good part of this year now,
Mm-hmm.
since we met on the Convos app. And it's always refreshing to, meet other like-minded people, especially in America, which, is near and dear to my heart. And just the positive nature of the relationship that we have, building, I guess, in a variety of ways. But just open dialogue like this is always great, and you've been very forthcoming to me. So I just wanted to say I appreciate that. But yeah, like I said, guys, hit me up, textlamar.com. That'll find you, find me in a few different ways. So yeah, appreciate
Yeah,
it.
and no problem. And definitely, I just want to, you know, just let the people know. Again, I definitely wanted to have you on this segment, because uh, even though Limahl is in the UK, his businesses can be, you can, you know, you can be impacted by him here, and you can connect with the institute and everything that he has going on, especially just so much wealth of information, even on his Instagram. So again, I'll definitely put some information in the description, and we appreciate it. We will see you all next time on Black Business Booming. Peace.